The Soviet Union, the 1970s. A superpower shrouded in secrecy, ruled by an iron fist. The vast nation stretched from the Baltic Sea to the Pacific Ocean, a land of contradictions. On the surface, a society striving for progress. Beneath a current of fear and paranoia, the KGB's presence, ever present, whispers silenced, dissent crushed. For ordinary citizens, life was a constant struggle. Queues for basic necessities were long, the threat of the West a constant drumbeat. But in the shadows something far more sinister was lurking, a darkness that would stain the fabric of Soviet society forever. Imagine a place where fear was a way of life, where the authorities controlled every aspect of existence, where the vast forests held secrets, dark and terrifying. This was the world inhabited by Andrei Chikatilo, a seemingly ordinary man, a teacher, a husband, a father. But beneath this veneer of normalcy, a monster was growing, a predator driven by twisted desires. His hunting ground, the sprawling, anonymous expanse of the Soviet Union. His prey, the most vulnerable members of society, the children. At first, the whispers were dismissed, rumors of missing children, strange encounters in the forests. The authorities, slow to react, denials, cover-ups. The fear, however, was real. It spread like wildfire through the villages and towns. Parents clutched their children closer. The lifeblood of the Soviet Union, its children, were disappearing. And no one knew why. Who was this monster preying on the innocent? The answer, as the world would soon discover, was far more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. Andrei Chikatilo, born into poverty in 1936. His childhood, a living nightmare. The backdrop, a Ukraine ravaged by Stalin's forced famine. Hunger, death, images seared into his young mind. Chikatilo, a frail and awkward child, bullied relentlessly. He found solace in books, a voracious reader escaping into worlds of fantasy. But these fantasies were taking a dark turn. He developed a fascination with violence, with power, with control. His teenage years brought further torment. He suffered from impotence, a source of deep shame and inadequacy. This fueled his rage. His resentment towards women intensified. He began to fantasize about domination, about inflicting pain as a means of asserting his masculinity. The seeds of a monster were sown. Outwardly, Chikatilo conformed. He married, he had children, he became a teacher, a seemingly respectable member of Soviet society. But beneath the surface, his dark fantasies festered. His urges grew stronger. He sought an outlet for his twisted desires. His first known attack in 1978, a 9-year-old girl, lured to an abandoned shack. He tried to strangle her, to silence her screams. But the act was clumsy, hesitant. He panicked. She struggled. He fled. The girl survived, barely. But for Chikatilo, something had shifted. He had tasted blood, his dark desires unleashed. The fear of being caught was quickly surpassed by a chilling realization. The act of murder, the ultimate act of control, had awakened something within him. It was intoxicating. He craved more. He needed more. His victims, always the vulnerable. Children, runaways, young women, lured with promises of food, of help, of companionship. He would lead them to secluded areas. The dense forests surrounding Rostov became his hunting ground. Places where he could exert his power, where their screams would go unheard. His methods brutal. He would bind, torture, and mutilate his victims. His acts driven by a perverse desire to dominate, to possess, to destroy. Years passed. Years of horror. Chikatilo's crimes escalated. He became bolder, more brazen. The authorities, clueless. Their investigation stymied by the sheer brutality of the murders. The Soviet system, built on control, was failing to protect its own. Panic gripped the region. Parents refused to let their children out of their sight. Women avoided walking alone. Fear became a constant companion. The once familiar forests now places of dread, every shadow a potential hiding place for the monster. Chikatilo, a ghost. He moved through society unnoticed, a predator hiding in plain sight. His double life, a testament to his cunning, his ability to blend in, to appear normal. All the while his dark urges festered, demanding to be satiated. The forests surrounding Rostov became his macabre playground, the dense undergrowth his accomplice. It was here, in the shadows of the trees, that he indulged his darkest fantasies. The victims, stripped, tortured, mutilated, their bodies discarded like broken dolls. He often removed organs, eyes gouged out, tongues severed, a gruesome signature, a desire to erase their identities, to leave them unrecognizable, to exert ultimate control even in death. The brutality of his crimes, shocking even to seasoned investigators, his victims diverse, men, women, children, but all shared a vulnerability that he exploited. He preyed on the weak, the marginalized, those who wouldn't be missed, those whose disappearances would be met with indifference by a society already grappling with its own demons. The body count rose, the whispers turned to screams. The Soviet authorities, under immense pressure to find the killer, launched a massive manhunt. Thousands of suspects questioned, leads pursued only to turn cold, frustration mounted. The killer, always one step ahead. The investigation was hampered by the limitations of Soviet-era forensic science, DNA profiling, still in its infancy. The vastness of the Soviet Union, another obstacle. The killer could strike anywhere, disappear into the anonymity of the masses. He was a phantom, a nightmare from which there seemed to be no waking. The murders continued, each one a fresh wave of terror. The people of Rostov lived in a state of perpetual fear. The authorities, desperate for a breakthrough, turned to unconventional methods. They consulted with psychiatrists, hoping to understand the mind of the monster they hunted. Psychiatrists began to piece together a profile, a man driven by deep-seated insecurities, by a need to dominate and control. His crimes, not just about sex, but about power. The brutality, the mutilation, all pointed to a profound hatred of women, a desire to punish and degrade. They called him the Butcher of Rostov, a name that struck fear into the hearts of all who heard it. His crimes, so depraved, so monstrous, defied explanation. He was a demon, a monster, a creature that had crawled out of the darkest recesses of the human soul. The hunt for the Butcher of Rostov became an obsession for the authorities. They knew they were dealing with a killer unlike any they had encountered before, a killer who would not stop until he was caught, a killer who would continue to terrorize the region until he was brought to justice. Years drifted by, a decade of terror. Each new victim brought fresh waves of fear. The authorities seemed powerless. The leads dwindled. Dead ends. The pressure mounted. The people, desperate for answers. Their trust in the system, eroding. False leads. Numerous arrests. Innocent men accused. The real killer, slipping through the cracks. The investigation, a labyrinth of frustration. The weight of expectation, crushing. The Butcher of Rostov, a phantom, always one step ahead. Rumors spread, whispers of a supernatural being, a vengeful spirit, the devil himself. The lack of answers fueled superstition. Fear became a tangible presence, a suffocating blanket over the region. Life in Rostov forever changed. Despite the setbacks, the investigation continued. A glimmer of hope, a new breed of investigator. Forensic psychologists. They delved into the mind of the killer. They analyzed the crime scenes, the patterns, the rituals, the brutality. They created a profile, a monster hiding in plain sight, an ordinary man, unremarkable, blended in. This realization sent shockwaves through the investigation. The killer could be anyone. The net tightened, surveillance increased, undercover officers deployed. They watched, they waited. The pressure cooker of fear about to explode. The authorities knew time was running out. Each passing day brought the risk of another life lost. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. A routine check at a train station, a man acting suspiciously, nervous, evasive. He matched the profile. The officers, their instincts honed by years of frustration, moved in. His name? Andrei Chikatilo. The arrest sent shockwaves through the Soviet Union. The man who had terrorized a nation, finally unmasked. But the story was far from over. Chikatilo, a master manipulator, he denied everything. The authorities determined to secure a conviction. They needed a confession. What followed was a psychological game of cat and mouse. Investigators used every tool at their disposal. They appealed to his ego. They confronted him with the evidence. They chipped away at his facade. Forensic psychology, a new and evolving field in the Soviet Union. It was key to unlocking Chikatilo's twisted mind. Psychologists analyzed his behavior, patterns, and motives. They noted his impotence, inadequacy, and need for control. These insights were invaluable. They developed strategies to break Chikatilo. It was a delicate psychological game. The interrogation process was intense. Investigators used every psychological tool at their disposal. They played on Chikatilo's ego, his need for recognition. They confronted him with the gruesome details of his crimes, hoping to elicit a reaction. They used empathy, confrontation, and deception. Chikatilo initially denied everything. He was calm, detached, almost indifferent, but the pressure was relentless. The investigators persisted, breaking down his defenses bit by bit. They showed him photographs of his victims, described the pain and suffering he inflicted. Slowly, the facade began to crack. They interrogated him for hours, days, weeks. The psychological toll was immense. Chikatilo began to show signs of stress, anxiety, and fear. He became more emotional, more agitated. The carefully constructed mask of normalcy he wore started to slip, revealing the monster within. Finally, they reached a breakthrough. Chikatilo began to talk. He described his crimes in chilling detail, revealing a level of brutality and sadism that shocked even the most seasoned investigators. His confessions were not just admissions of guilt, but windows into the dark recesses of his mind. The confession was a turning point. Chikatilo's admissions were detailed and horrifying. He spoke of his victims, his methods, his motivations. His words were chilling, devoid of remorse. His confessions provided the evidence needed to convict him. The trial was a media sensation. The public was horrified and fascinated. Chikatilo sat impassively, facing the consequences. The verdict was swift and inevitable. The Butcher of Rostov was sentenced to death. His reign of terror had finally come to an end, but the scars he left behind would last forever. Andrei Chikatilo's reign of terror left an indelible mark on the Soviet Union. His crimes shattered families and changed societal views. Fear lingered long after his arrest, casting a dark shadow over Rostov. The forests became symbols of horror, echoing his brutality. His crimes exposed vulnerabilities in the Soviet system, highlighting police inefficiencies and outdated methods. This led to a re-evaluation of law enforcement techniques, integrating new scientific approaches in criminal investigations. For the victims' families, the loss was immeasurable. Each life taken was a story cut short. The pain and grief were compounded by the public nature of the crimes. The trial could not fully heal the wounds inflicted. Chikatilo's case became a chilling study in criminal psychology. Researchers sought to understand the factors driving his heinous acts. Insights from his case now inform modern criminal profiling techniques. The legacy of Andrei Chikatilo serves as a grim reminder of the darkness within the human soul. His ability to blend into society while harboring malevolent desires challenges our understanding of evil. The Butcher of Rostov showed how easily the mask of normalcy can disguise a predator. Chikatilo's capture highlighted the critical role of forensic psychology in law enforcement. Profiling and psychological insights were key to his downfall. These methods are now a cornerstone of modern policing. The case prompted changes in handling serial crimes. Lessons from the Chikatilo investigation are now part of training programs worldwide. These improvements aim to prevent future predators from slipping through the cracks. Reflecting on Chikatilo's legacy, we see the enduring impact of his crimes. His story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the pursuit of justice. It serves as a reflection on the capacity for evil and the effort required to confront it. The Butcher of Rostov may be gone, but his lessons shaped criminal justice and vigilance.